Welcome back to Cinema Flicks Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, the beast with the least. The least I can do today is give you my top 10 Blu-rays / 4Ks of 2022. The biggie of the year when it comes to countdowns for all those physical media fans who love our movies and love curating them. Slight apology, my box sets of the year video the other day didn't include the last Hammer volume from Indicator, and it really should have, because I love those movies. Got Captain Clegg in it. How could I miss that out? Anyway, I hope I make up for that dreadful omission by the fact I've got loads of honourable mentions here, so if I do manage to get this out reasonably short time, I'll just batter through some honourables. But let's just crack on. And number 10 for me this year, She Wore Blue, Lost Highway. Lost Highway, finally released by Criterion, approved by David Lynch. This has been out on Blu-ray before, but by gum, it needed a better treatment. This has got a new 4K restoration. It looks absolutely sublime. You get the Art of David Lynch, the feature-length 1997 documentary. Readings from the Room to Dream Lynch book, which if you don't have that and you're a Lynch fan, you need it. Go and order it now after you watch this video. Archival interviews with Arquette, Pillman and Robert Loggia. Well, it'd need to be archival for Robert Loggia, wouldn't it? Packed. A sublime release of a sublime movie. And yeah, Balthazar Getty made my top 10. Who'd have thought it, eh? Bless you. That's number 10. That's number 10. And number 9, Arrow Video's The Wolf of Wall Street. When this came out, I was a little bit... because I was going through a strange relationship with Leonardo at the time. Not literally, although that came later. But... he was delivering all these performances where it just felt like he was desperate to get the Oscar, and everything was so worthy. And I just didn't take to a lot of his performances. I thought it was just DiCaprio. You could almost see the acting intent rather than just feel the character. But subsequent watches of this have really paid off. It's not a celebration of hedonism. It's a dark comedy about hedonism. In the same way that Goodfellas is not a glorification of gangsterism, it's a condemnation of it and of falling into that life. Arrow Video took a film that was relatively bare bones and added all sorts of extras onto it. I mean, first of all, you get the approved 4K transfer from Scorsese, brand new audio commentary by Glenn Kenny and Nick Pinkerton. The original had no commentary. Introduction by Ian Christie, the editor of Scorsese, on Scorsese. New interview with Terence Winter, who of course wrote the piece. Brand new interview with Bob Shaw, the production designer. Brand new visual essay with Simon Ward on the dark humour of Martin Scorsese. Again, this is much more after hours than it is anything else. And then all sorts of archival stuff from the time, including that great roundtable discussion with Scorsese, Terence Winter, DiCaprio and Jonah Hill, that even at the time I remember saying, why is this not on the Blu-ray? Because it was out at that point. But yeah, and then you get 60-page book from Arrow, reversible packaging. It comes in a luxury wallet style with this faux leather, and then you get that kind of embossed, and you get fake credit cards with a bag of coke, but these actually are fake cards, like business cards for Jordan Belfort's companies, but they do come out. You get the fake Belfort cash, and it's just sublime. It's just sublime physical media at its peak of a film that has gone up in my estimation. Do Silence next. Do another underappreciated Scorsese. So yeah, number 9, The Wolf of Wall Street. Number 8, one that just made it in under the radar, was released technically November, but nobody got it until late December / early January, because of backlogs and whatnot, and it is, of course, Four Flies on Grey Velvet from Severin, their new restoration of this, which is just absolutely ridiculously good. They made the decision to only have it on sale for Black Friday weekend, and sorry folks that missed out, but you missed out on something good. I mean, you've got, first of all, that gorgeous slipcase that makes it look like a more spiritual predecessor to Profonda Rosso. And this is all embossed, the eyes are embossed. This is spot gloss, and then when you open it up, you get your 4K box with some great original artwork, which is, I think that's what featured on the Shameless edition back in the day. And then audio commentary with Mondo Digital's Nathaniel Thompson and Troy Hallworth. Troy, we love you. Author of So Deadly, So Well Preserved, so perverse. Interview with Dario himself and Luigi Cozzi. Disc 3's getting an interview with Bud Spencer, who's terrific in this. He's only got a small role, but he's terrific in it. Much more better known for his comedies with Terence Hill. Interview with Gildo DeMarco and assistant cameraman and production manager, all sorts. And then disc 4, the soundtrack CD, which is by Ennio Morricone himself. So by gum, wouldn't you just want to have that in your collection? Well, hopefully the next time there's a halfway to Black Friday sale, they put it back on, because people need this in their collection. 4 discs of a true underrated Argento classic with Michael Brandon, the great Michael Brandon of FM fame and Dempsey and Makepeace. Number 7, Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Number 6, from Warner Archive. Still ploughing on, God bless him. Jekyll and Hyde. Finally this year they released the 2 Jekyll and Hydes. This is by far the better of the 2. This is the one with Frederick March. The first one came out in 31. Sublime. 10 years later it was done with Spencer Tracy, which Warner Archive also released this year. It's recommended still, but it's just not a patch on this. This is sublime. It's one of the first versions to make Dr. Jekyll, or Dr. Jekyll if you want to pronounce it the official Robert Louis Stevenson endorsed Scottish way. So Dr. Jekyll, when he becomes Mr. Hyde, really transforms into this primordial creature, and this is one of the first times you get a great transformation sequence with a great different performance. It's not just a slight change in personality. He's angry now. It's a completely different performance, and rightly so. Frederick March won the Oscar, or co-won. I think it was one of those joint decisions. Co-won the Oscar that year, which, imagine that for a horror movie these days. But Frederick March, the great Frederick March, and not to forget Miriam Hopkins, of course, as well, from Trouble in Paradise. If you have not seen Trouble in Paradise, see Trouble in Paradise, directed by Ernst Lubitsch. Set on Blu-ray in Spain, and unlike most Spanish Blu-rays, it's legit. It's from Universal. So that was number 6, wasn't it? Yeah, 6. Number 5. Oh, I'm so happy when they announced this. So I had number 1, I had number 2, and then they announced they were doing number 3. It is Super Cop, Police Story 3, effectively, with Jackie Chan and, most importantly, Michelle Yeoh, who of course we refer to in this channel as Michelle Wow, because we love her. This was her, I mean, she'd done loads of great films already, but this was a real coming out party in terms of made her an absolute superstar. Jackie gives her the rub here. They had a little bit of a friendly rivalry going on, but not too much. Michelle keeps up with him 100% when it comes to the stunts. You know, jumping off onto the car and holding on at the side of the truck, and the train sequence. Sublime stuff. Everything you'd expect from a Police Story movie. Well, these early ones anyway. Not the later ones. Have you seen Police Story Lockdown from 2015 with Jackie? It's like a dark, depressing suicide drama. Yeah, no joke. And a plethora of extras, including both the Hong Kong theatrical cut from a brand new restoration, the alternate US version, which are almost always terrible, Cantonese mono, Cantonese audio, so basically every dub going, all new commentaries. I think there's 3 commentaries, and then you get an American English dub track with Michelle Yeoh and Jackie Chan voicing their own characters for once. Interesting. I look at Jackie Chan's video games and stuff, which is quite fun for me because I had Jackie Chan video games on the NES and things, outtakes and all the usual stuff that you get on these great editions. Of course, this did come out as then they announced the 4K trilogy box set, which I still haven't stumped for because I was like, oh, I've already got Police Story 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. But hey, here's number 3, Super Cop, with Jackie and Michelle Yeoh. And Wow sums up this edition, even if Michelle wasn't in it, because it is a sublime cop film, action supreme, old school, all the stunts done for themselves, nobody's faking anything here, this is as legit as it comes. So that was number, terrible numbers, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, number 6. So number 5 will be One Sweet Day, I'll Make a Mind, Pink Flamingos. John Waters, Pink Flamingos. I think this is one that has been on both film bloggers Sam's and Nathan, specifically Nathan Jones, specifically Blurays with Nathan Jones. I don't want to use their real names. Well, Nathan Jones is his real name, but Sam doesn't have his name on the channel. God, if you don't know Pink Flamingos, it is the ultimate. I can't recommend it to you, but it's the most John Waters of John Waters films. I mean, it's presented absolutely gorgeously. You get all sorts of extras, both new and archival. It's finally looking as good as it can. It's never going to look amazing because it was shot for no money by a bunch of outsiders in Baltimore in the early 70s. But you get, Divine Trash, the feature length documentary. I mean, I paid 10 quid for that when it came out on DVD on its own back in the day. So, real value for money in these special features. Two audio commentaries featuring Waters, one from the 97 Laserdisc and one from the 2001 DVD re-release. And then new conversation between John Waters and Jim Jarmusch. Love them both. All sorts. It's so much more than the film where Divine eats dog shit. That is a little thing at the end. Okay, right? Get over it. It's so much funnier. It's a brilliant black comedy. It's a brilliant presentation, a rebellion against the insiders, against the establishment, but also without being too in your face, too we're going to fight them. It's more about just being yourself, and presenting these people who just don't give a fuck. Be the most extreme you can possibly be, and if you want to be the filthiest person in the world, go ahead, because that's what Divine does here. So coming in at number 4 then, no, number 3, except number 4. Coming in at number 4 from Masters of Cinema, which I've not seen on many lists. I think some people forgot this came out this year. Either that or I've overrated it. But I was very excited when they announced it. It was Carl Theodor Dreyer's Vampire from Masters of Cinema. And in their deluxe edition with a nice big book and different covers and whatnot. This is fantastic. Obviously, it's Carl Theodor Dreyer in the 1930s. It's one of the first looks at deconstruction of a genre. So it takes what was still a very relatively young genre in film, certainly in the vampiric stuff with Nosferatu and Dracula had just come out the year before. And it deconstructs that totally and has a more serious look at what vampirism would actually mean to the person impacted and the people around them. It's from a 4K restoration by the Danish Film Institute. Again, all sorts of extras, including an audio commentary by Guillermo del Toro. I think that guy's going to go someplace sometime. Yeah, he's going places, that kid. Kim Newman's on here, David Huckville's on here talking about the music. I mean, it's everybody you'd want to be talking about classic film. The book's 100 pages on its own. It's got audacious camera work. The sound design's unbelievable for 1932, considering we're in the very early days of talkies, and this was Dreyer's first talkie himself. It's a sublime film. I think this edition's sold out now, but Vampire by Carl Theodor Dreyer, number 3. Number 2, I'm going to add in a little bonus for this one, is Ghost Stories for Christmas, Volume 1 from the BFI. Sublime. The M.R. James adaptations that would be shown at Christmas time in the 1970s, and starting in the 60s before they had a name for them, with Whistle and I'll Come to You and things, which you get both versions on here. You get a bonus feature of the John Hurt version as well. But you get Whistle and I'll Come to You, The Stalls of Barchester, A Warning to the Curious, which is insanely good, and Lost Hearts, all remastered from original materials and presented on Blu-ray for the first time, and just a plethora of BFI quality extras, just the usual greatness from the BFI. And it's volume one. And you get Ghost Stories for Christmas with Christopher Lee, 2000, 60 minutes total. BBC Scotland's talking head horror series starring the iconic actor as an M.R. James-like raconteur of fireside Christmas ghost stories. Oh, it wasn't my best Lee, but I've not done it in a while and I'm not talking as much as I used to. Anyway, this is sublime, and to accompany it, and it's only on DVD, unfortunately the BBC didn't put a Blu of it, but this is the revival of it, if you like, with Mark Gatiss doing modern versions of some of these greats. So you get the Tractate Midoth, the Dead Room, Martin's Close, and the Mezzotint. The Mezzotint must be my favourite. Rory Kinnear is just sublime in that. Martin's Close, Peter Capaldi's sublime in that. The Tractate Midoth, Sacha Dhawan, fantastic. So this is a lovely accompaniment to this. So I'd put them together. I mean, this is obviously my pick, but I'd throw this in just behind it. Yeah, I'd definitely do that. So I'm going to make this a volume 1.5. Okay, nobody's going to stop me. It's my list. What's my number one for the year? What's the number one thing that when it came out made me go, oh my God, finally there is a God. She's still preoccupied with 1984 from the BFI even. The BFR, the British film Rotters, from Rutland. No, this is the classic. To me, it's the best version ever of 1984. I love you, John Hurt. You know I do. I know you're dead, but I know you're watching. But this is the version. Peter Cushing as Winston Smith is just. This is the film that made him. It's adapted by Nigel Kneale. So we're talking the greatest quality you can possibly imagine, and then you've got as the I won't spoil in case you haven't seen it, because there's a good chance nowadays that people haven't seen a version of 1984 because there hasn't been a big one in a long time, but as an interesting character, shall we say, who certainly inspired a Michael Palin character in Brazil, is Andre Morel. Played by Richard Burton in the 1984 version, and Andre Morel and Peter Cushing, of course, would go on to their double act here was so great that Hammer used them in Hound of the Baskervilles and Cash on Demand. They were such a great double act together. Absolutely wonderful. I just adore Peter Cushing and Andre Morello on screen together. Just two of the Hammer greats. But here we get them years before when they were still on BBC TV, and it's a godsend that this exists. So, and again, the adaptation by Nigel Neal, the greatest television writer that Britain's ever had. Newly recorded audio commentary by Toby Haydock and Andy Murray, with John Deere, who hosts Birdcast, the Nigel Neal podcast. Late night lineup. Members of the cast and crew look back on the controversy of this in 1965, so they were looking back at something 10 years old then, as if, oh, remember those days. And even that's nearly 60 years old now, and here it is. Wonderful that these things still exist. That's 23 minutes long. The Ministry of Truth. Dick Fiddy, who I always love his name when he pops up and stuff, he works for the BFI, and television historian Oliver Wake dispels some of the myths that have grown up around the groundbreaking drama. A 72-minute piece by Toby Haydock about Nigel Neal. If you've seen what Toby does with the Doctor Who releases, you'll know how good that is. He goes way into the weeds. This is the ultimate edition of one of the great stories of the 20th century, one of the most imaginative but then prescient stories of the 20th century, and given just sublime treatment by the BFI. I mean, how many of the aspects of this have come into popular culture? Big Brother, for example, being Big Brother is watching. That's from this. Room 13. That's from this. The Ministry of Truth. I mean, so much of 1984. But Peter Cushing's performance is phenomenal. It's a star-making role, and it's what made Peter Cushing go from good TV actor to superstar, who Hammer wanted to sign up straight away and get him into The Abominable Snowman. And from thence they said, should we try some horror films? Let's see what happens with Quatermass. Well, that went well. Should we try Cushing one of these? Okay, let's do, I don't know, Frankenstein. And I think it went quite well for Hammer and Peter after that. But yeah, just number one with a bullet. I can't stress this enough. This isn't just number one. This is like so far ahead of the pack, it's not real. So, yeah, number one. I almost feel like talking about anything honourable mention. He'll be going downhill after that. But I want to thank Harold Gervais, one of my great buddies, for this, because a lot of Poliziotteschi movies, Italian crime films, came out this year, and I was picking them up. But as you do, you pick them up because they're limited, and then you go, okay, I'll get around to watching it soon. And it was Harold that said to me, you need to watch this. It's really different than Offbeat, and boy was he right. It's Revolver, with Oliver Reed from Eureka. This is an insanely good movie, quirky as all hell. I think you really need to see it to believe it. It's one of those kind of, this is so different. It's got Fabio Testi in it, who was quite the star at the time as well. Was in quite a few giallos and things. If you like Poliziotteschi, you're going to love this if you ain't seen it. I'm not going to go into. I'm trying not to go into too much depth on the honourable mentions. Censor, a great look at the video nasties era, and then takes a great look at identity and the self and the separation of it, and don't look too much into the best of the best men. All these kind of interesting things that always appeal to my sensibilities, in a ridiculously wonderful edition from Second Sight. I mean, look at that, a big massive book for a film that just came out, like Censor. Sublime. Oh, I did forget to pull it out, but I'll also throw in Top Gun Maverick, just for being the reference quality 4K. And also colour wise, I think the best looking film this year was Last Night in Soho. Okay, so should have pulled it out actually. Next honourable mention, another Second Sight edition, which is just ridiculously stacked. Look at that. Stephen Graham in Boiling Point. If I told you the plot of this film revolves around a real-time restaurant in London, and it's done in real time, where a head chef has they've taken on too many orders, and he's built up his this great restaurant, and what's he going to do? There's too many orders coming in, and there's crises from personal issues to things going on with the staff, and what's he going to do? That doesn't seem like it would be a terribly exciting film, does it? Trust me, this is a phenomenally tense, exciting, wonderful film. Wonderful film. Stephen Graham, who's in everything. You can't turn on the BBC without seeing Stephen Graham looking back at you. But there's a reason for that. He's terrific. And Jason Fleming's in here too, and he's great as well. Who also played Quatermass in 2005, going back to Nigel Neal. I said I wouldn't waffle on too much about these honourables. Dragon's Return from second run. Arrow's kind of sister label. This is sublime as well. Dragon is a character who's thrown out of this village in Slovakia, and then years later returns looking for penance, and we're not really sure what's going on here. It's done in black and white, even though it was well into the colour era. This was out in the 60s. It's got a great score by Ajla Zelenka, excuse my pronunciation. A vision of a world lost in time kind of sums it up quite nicely. Great documentary on it. This is one of those, I like the sound of this, I think I'll just take a chance. And boy, it was worth it. It was worth it. It's a real intriguing, ridiculously wonderful Czech Slovak piece that really takes modern culture and folk culture, modern culture of the time, contemporary culture I guess we'd call it, and folk culture, existentialism. There's a bit of Tarkovsky in here as well, very cinematic, and throws it all in a melting pot, in a boiling pot, just like Boiling Point. The Men with Jessie Buckley, who may well actually be featuring on, she may be the only person to ever feature on my albums of the year list that I'm doing each day, and films of the year, even though it's an honourable. The Men is a wonderful look at grief and what a dominating relationship can do to a woman. She goes up to Scotland and retreats, and in fact it is England, I think. I think they filmed in Scotland. It's definitely a Scottish connection. And everybody she sees looks like Rhoda Kinnear, who turns out is her ex. So is she going mad? Is she just seeing this, or is there something deeper going on? It's a wonderful, tense film by Alex Garland. I can't believe he's doing these really low budget films. He should be up there at the very top. But that's Hollywood for you. And what did we say about Michelle Wow? Not Michelle Yao. Michelle Yao. Wow. It's been our year, hasn't it? We've had that great release of Super Cop. We also had this from Eureka very recently, a wonderful release of Yes Madam with Cynthia Rothrock. This was her coming out party in Hong Kong. I mentioned that was her coming out party internationally. This was her coming out party in Hong Kong in terms of making her an action superstar. And Cynthia Rothrock is there as well. She's just nowhere as good as Michelle Yao. This is a brilliant version. It's from 1985, stacked to the max, and they are doing all 4 of the movies in the series. So looking forward to picking those up in the next few months. And then of course the year of Michelle Wow wouldn't be complete without her actual movie this year, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So good. If you haven't seen this, remember Doctor Strange in the Multiverse? Imagine something that took the multiverse and did something original, interesting and amazing, and not just put some different looking X-Men in it. Fans will like it. This takes the idea of a multiverse and completely plays around with it. What can we do? And the idea of using a woman like Michelle Yeoh, a lady in her 60s now, who obviously martial arts superstar, but slowed down. She's now just a great actress in her own right, taking away any martial arts ability, and put her in this great dramatic role that ultimately is about the relationship between a mother and a daughter. That's what something like Doctor Strange was missing, the relationship. The heart, the soul. Yeah, it had stuff with the Scarlet Witch and things, but this all comes from the relationship. Everything in it is organic. The relationship with her husband, played by Short Round from Indiana Jones. No time for love, Dr. Jones. He's back. It's his first movie since the early days. It's a sublime movie. This is the German 4K Media Book edition, which this sums it up really well, actually, because it is bloody nuts. But in the best possible way. You just need to roll with it. You need to roll with it because it'll make sense. I did a video on this when it came out, so if you just do it from the past, I won't go on about this. A great story that had never been released outside Japan on home video. Highly recommended if you like epic stories about crime and redemption. If you want the Japanese Les Miserables, look no further. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. God, see, I can be concise when I want, can't I? The music of chance. What starts as just a cool gambling movie, and this is from Imprint, turns into a very tense, high stakes, hostage. I don't want to say too much. It's one of those films that makes you go, what? This was just about friends gambling and kind of taking advantage of each other's lack of ability playing cards. But it's a phenomenal film with a great cast, just one of those cool cult casts. James Spader, Mandy Patinkin, I'm Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. Emmett Walsh, Charles Durning, Joel Grey, welcome to Cabaret, old friend. Money makes it very gone. Just the Cabaret theme because I saw Joel Grey's name. Chris Penn. It's directed by Philip Haas. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Yeah, see this if you like cool 90s kind of semi-cult films that should have been, like those neo-noirs that should have been more successful than they were, that you don't get anymore. Captain Invincible, again, did a video about this. This is a personal pick for me because I grew up loving it. So Christopher Lee is the bad Captain Midnight, is foiling Captain Invincible. There's Christopher Lee. There's Alan Arkin as Captain Invincible. Captain Invincible is a washed up alcoholic superhero who has to come back and try and save the Earth one last time. However, it's a musical written by Richard O'Brien. Yeah. Christopher Lee sings a song about cocktails. Might I say that I'm old-fashioned, très fin ordinaire. We already had David Lynch in our top 10, but also this year we had a wonderful great restoration 4K of Mulan Drive, so that definitely makes the list. Wonderful follow-up to Lost Highway. It takes the themes of identity and takes them even further in that direction. Who are these people and who have they just become? If you don't break down watching the scene with the cover of the Roy Orbison song Crying, you have no heart. Naomi Watts' greatest performance outside the Twin Peaks, The Return for my money. Sublime film, absolutely sublime. Mulholland Drive just rewards and rewards. Every time I go back to it, rewards and rewards. The Beatles get back. I don't care if there was no special features on it. The film itself is a special feature. It's like 8 hours long of the Beatles recording Let It Be. And it set a lot of myths to bed about Yoko being disruptive when we actually see Yoko and Linda having a laugh, and we get to see John helping George with solo stuff, and it's wonderful. It really altered the narrative of the entire Let It Be history that a lot of Beatles fans have anecdotally spread around throughout the decades. And if you do not get a bit upset when Paul McCartney tears up because he thinks that he's now in a band that's just lost George Harrison and John Lennon in the space of 2 days, and Paul looks to the camera and goes, "And then there were two." With those big puppy dog Paul McCartney eyes, you don't have a heart if you don't cry. My La Llorona. Did a video on this at the time that it came out. Wonderful Mexican suspense horror from the early 30s, 1933, Spanish language, only 70 minutes long. Popular folklore stuff done sublimely well. Again, the Mexicans were so far ahead in terms of filmmaking. Filmmaking in America was so far behind a lot of what Europe and South America was doing at the time, because they were still trying to do silent movies because there was just so many cinemas that weren't fitted for sound yet. To Sleep So As to Dream from Arrow Video. This also, I think I just did this in one of my haul videos. This is like everything the movie. Imagine a kind of detective noir film with time travel and Buster Keaton-esque moments. You're kind of halfway there to how odd this is. But To Sleep So As to Dream is just a sublime film. It's from the 1980s. It's the difference between illusion and allusion. There's a lot of things that just don't quite translate to the Western audience, perhaps, and you have to take a jump of logic, a bit like when we watch Giallos and we have to use dream logic. So, yeah. And then finally, you'll be glad to hear them shutting up. This is it cheating because it's 3 movies? I don't know, they all came out in the same bloody day. So the BFI's little mini tribute season, if you like, to one of the greats of not just French cinema but cinema in general, Robert Bresson, with Joan of Arc, with L'Argent, Money Makes the Virgo, and Pickpocket. Amarka Yana Bakaraba, Pickpocket, which is one of his most famous films. Bresson is French cinema. I mean, there's Godard, but Bresson for me is the heart and soul of French. Bresson and Renoir are actually whisper. I kind of prefer them to Godard and to some of the later new wave filmmakers. Sorry, but I love Renoir and I love Bresson. Bresson's films are very moralistic, often very simple, very bicycle thieves in that regard, and that there's a very simple moral to be learned, but because of that, you can really expand on the themes and and obviously Joan of Arc speaks for itself. We all know that story. These are all stacked editions from the BFI. Look at all those yellow boxes with all those extras. If you like world cinema, but generally cinema, just go for these Bressons. So I hope these, and by the way, they also did a brilliant version of Mary Queen of Scots this year, which I should have pulled out, with Timothy Dalton playing the first husband, Lord Darnley. Was not my best Timothy Dalton. Smile for the birdie, you bastard. Can't really do Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton, he's not a Superman. That's why people identify with James Bond. He's not a Superman. Yeah, I can do it when I think what he said in interviews. He's not a Superman. That's why people identify with James Bond. He's not a Superman. So he was Lord Darnley. You get Victoria Redgrave. Sublime film as well. So add that to the list. I can't pull everything out, for goodness sake. Oh, we've done nearly 40 minutes and most of them have been honourables by now. But I hope that's given you, at least my top 10 have given you a flavour of what I've loved this year. Hopefully you've loved some of them too. Hopefully the honourables and things have given you some other things that you might want to look into further. And hopefully you love me. Please, love me. Anyway, stay very safe out there. Love and mercy, my dears. Love and mercy.